Black Dragons, welcome back for day 3. Today, you get to take on eUnited at the start of the day. Kliz, you were tweeting out a little bit earlier today about your massive matchup against PolarBearMike. Tell me what you expect to happen here.
Destroy Mike. That's it, yeah.
So, day number 3, what have you learned from days number 1 and 2 to help you now against your North American opponents?
I think that we look at our drafts on the strat that we bring, like do some adjustments and how we play the early game to make sure that we are even coming like later in the game so we can do the objectives and the fights properly and like fight from behind every game.
Nann, quick question for you as well. Obviously, you've been a mid laner from Brazil for a long time, playing in the competitive level for quite a few years now. How does the meta feel for you in the mid lane now, especially when you see how NA, EU, and the other regions are playing this?
I see a difference between NA and EU, and I like both style, but we didn't figure out which is better for us right now. We played a bit of early game, but I actually prefer the late game. But I don't know, we against the NA teams, we just lost the early game, and we, as Kliz said, we had to fight from behind every game, and it was really hard for us.
Kliz, question for you. Have you noticed a differential in the meta, in the solo lane specifically? Is it more aggressive than what you're normally used to? How have you been able to adjust coming into this LAN?
And I think people from Brazil usually copy a lot, so it's like not that different. But I think mostly about Chulainn, I would say, was like the biggest difference between online and LAN, where Chulainn is getting more play and being very successful, I would say, for the most part. Meanwhile, I think online, Sobek is probably the most successful display at least. So that's probably the biggest difference.
Final question then, guys. Obviously, you were talking just then, Nann, about a little bit about how the early game, you've been trying that, and the late game. NA have spoken about how they like to prefer the earlier game focus a little bit more. Are you going to try and match that today, or are you going to try and play your own game?
We talked a lot about it, and I think we're going to see what they want to do in the early draft, and we're going to adjust our game to counter what they want to do.
Last question. What's the scoreline going to be from this game?
2-0 to 1 Petrol.
Okay, thanks very much. Congratulations. Good luck today.
Thank you.
Kliz is ever confident, as we get to see there in the interview with Black Dragons. Nann was there with him as well. They're going to be going up against eUnited. That's going to be the next set here, and the winner of that has the difficult task of trying to take down Space Station.
And Space Station looking pretty good, but eUnited started to turn up a little bit against a rival, ultimately end up falling in that set 2-1, but Black Dragons is a team that they cannot afford to take lightly. I mean, they had trouble with Nocturnes, specifically in game 1 of that set, and Black Dragons didn't give Space Station too much trouble, but this is a team that you really cannot underestimate. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of international experience as well. Nann and Kliz, these two guys have been around for so long that you know that just being on land doesn't phase them. They still have the potential to come up and I think surprise some people here.
Yeah, and they just cannot afford to have another long game like the one you alluded to up against Nocturnes. I think it was near 50 minutes. For one, because I mean, if they were to win, they'd be going right into another set, so it could be very difficult for them. And then number 2, they might not win. Black Dragons are really good in those mid to late game team fights, so you don't want to have a 50-50 up against this Black Dragons roster. I mean, you could drop that with how well Nann has been playing.
That's a great point. I think that Black Dragons do excel in the late game team fights. Their communication, their teamwork really stands out in those instances. It's just, can you get to that point against a team like eUnited?
And be competitive, yeah.
Exactly, and I'm that's their challenge. And what Nann said there about what they plan on doing up against eUnited, trying to see what eUnited wants to do first, I think that just highlights what Barracuda was saying in the post-game interview alongside Jeff Hindla there, is that Latin America and a lot of the other international regions are playing to not lose instead of playing to win. And look, I'm always a fan of anything besides the standard, well, you know, we're going to play our game, it's going to be a tough set, you know, and I appreciate that insight from Nann, but I hope that the Black Dragons will try and take the initiative and say, we're going to make eUnited adjust to our style, because these teams of eUnited, Space Station, the European SPL teams, they're too good to play reactive against.
Right.
So I really want to see Black Dragons, maybe game 1 they try that, it doesn't work out. Game 2, come out swinging. Come in with your own game plan and try and execute it.
And the mindset that you have to take is that, as you said, if we go into a 50-50 with eUnited, isn't it really like a 60-40 just because they're eUnited? And so we kind of have to take maybe a few more risks early on to give ourselves a chance to even that out later on. So I agree with you. When they find picks, they kind of got to start looking for stuff afterwards. They kind of have to force fights and see if maybe they can get eUnited on the back foot.
And that's one of the things that these teams need to learn about this sort of level of play, is that playing reactively isn't going to work out in your favor nearly as often as it will against the other teams in your region. Being the aggressors, being proactive, those are what lead you to victories on the international stage.
And the international stage is exactly where we are. Black Dragon's going to be going up against eUnited. Very difficult opponents for them, and we actually got a chance to sit down and talk with eUnited and get an idea of where their heads are at before this set.
Good morning, eUnited. First question, I guess, is talk to me a little bit about yesterday. Obviously, probably not the result you guys were hoping for and wanted, but what exactly was it that was your downfall, you would say, and what were you looking to improve to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Well, yesterday we messed up when in game 2, we gave Deathwalker a quadra kill. That definitely should not have happened, and I mean, they basically won off of that. We talked a little more about like in-team stuff and like what happened in game 3, but I mean, it's pretty much overall fixed, and we should be ready to go for today.
So day 3 here already. How have you guys made adjustments from learning in day 1 and day 2, not just Rival, going into this set here against Black Dragons? Have you watched some of their tape in the previous days?
Yeah, we have, and we've made some adjustments from yesterday as we saw the Chulainn pick from Deathwalker was really dominant and picking it into a Guardian. So we looked at that, and we're going to try and make some adjustments going into today. And Black Dragons also was picking Chulainn a lot, so we've got some strategies worked out for that.
And so to be a little bit about going against Black Dragons today, obviously they've been in the international scene for a while now, guys, and been around the block a little bit. So also Kliz has been talking a lot of smack towards PolarBearMike. He's quite confident coming to this one.
Yeah, I mean, we faced them at Worlds. I mean, it was an easy sweep 2-0, and I mean, it should be another 2-0 easy, but you never know.
So depending on, you guys are certainly going to win this one here, but probably going to face against Space Station if you were to guess here. Would you rather have the cooldown period of playing the first set going into the third set of the day, or getting this kind of warm-up time now, playing a best of 3 into another one immediately after?
Probably playing the best of 3 into immediately the other, because we're already being hot and warmed up and ready to go. And we'll be talking in the games about what we have to do better and stuff, especially if we make mistakes, we can adjust and get better.
Awesome. Now, if everything goes as planned for you guys, as is planned for today, hopefully in your eyes, tomorrow you'll have to face off against one of the European teams. Which would you rather face in the lower bracket, and which one do you expect to face in the finals?
I would pref to face Rival again and just beat them like we should have yesterday. But, I mean, I think Dig could lose to them, and if they do, I think we can beat them as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much both for your time today. Have a great look, and congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You heard there from Venenu and their coach as well. They know this solo lane matchup could be particularly important. It's not going to be a free pass on to the next round. I don't think so at all. Not up against this Black Dragons roster. It sounded like they were saying they were looking at Chulainn, so that's going to be the Kliz and Benji matchup. Do you agree that that's going to be important here?
It's going to be huge, because I really do. I agree with what Venenu said. That quadra kill game 2 effectively ended that game. For anytime Deathwalker gets a quadra in the early game, not just in the late game where it's like, oh, it doesn't matter, we were all going to die anyways. All 4 kills going to one person in the early game that's playing Chulainn against a Guardian. Good luck. But nothing Benji could have.
And just real quick, what was his player tag again? What was his name? The one that got the quadra kill?
Deathwalker.
Okay, yeah, that's bad. That's not
good. That's not what you're looking for if you're eUnited. Can't feel good about that one, but can feel good if Benji gets off to a better start and is able to get a warrior in this lane. I'm the #1 Sobek solo fanboy. I'm convinced still that it's one of, if not the best solo laners, but that's only if the enemy team lets it be your best solo laner. And what I mean by that is, if an enemy team is picking the Chulainns and the Achilles and that sort of stuff, Sobek loses a lot of value, potentially. Now, the rest of the team has to play around that, and Rival was consistently playing around the right side of the map, using Deathwalker to rotate in earlier. Benji was falling further and further behind. just one, just picking it and going, all right, go have fun, usually isn't quite enough to put Sobek down. So eUnited could pick a pressure jungler, spend a lot of time on that right-hand side, make sure Sobek is A-okay. That's what Dignitas did against Space Station. Variety got off to a huge lead against Achilles, and then Sobek is unbeatable in the late game out of the solo lane. So I don't think that Sobek and Guardian solos are bad right now. I just think that teams have to dedicate themselves to playing around them a little bit more than what eUnited did yesterday.
Yeah, you have to recognize that Sobek, he's good in lane, just not at the beginning, right? Like what levels, like maybe 1 through 6 or 7 or so, is where he might need a little bit of extra help. Once he's able to get that mana sustain from the ult and can start clearing the wave a little bit easier, he won't have any trouble. So you just got to make sure you can make it there on even footing as we move into picks and bans for Game 1 between eUnited and Black Dragons. Remember, we are in the lower bracket here now, so either one of these teams were to drop this set, that's it. Their tournament lives are done, and the other team's going to be moving on to play Space Station.
Little surprised to see the Raven banned by eUnited. That's one of Screammm's best gods, but they are in the first pick slot, so they're trying to open up something of priority against Black Dragons. Now they can go for a typical ban, something like a Nemesis, which works out, taking 2 shots at Gone in that jungle for Black Dragon. But now there's so many picks open. I mean, Ullr and Achilles are the two that really stand out to me. The Black Dragons can only ban one. eUnited can get the other. If I'm on Black Dragons, I probably ban neither of them and guarantee that we get at least one of those.
Trying to put themselves in a spot to be able to pick one up and at least have the counter potential. But it is not going to be easy for Black Dragons to figure out what it is to try and ban away from eUnited. I mean, everyone on this team plays so strong. It could be Screammmmm one game, Venenu one game, Benji, PandaCat. So you got to make sure that you're trying to ban a way that makes your strat work rather than trying to ban away eUnited's strat, because you're just not going to be able to do it.
Now, as I mentioned, it's tempting to ban neither of those and then leave open, eUnited gets Achilles or Ullr. I imagine they'd pick Ullr probably for Venenu. They seem to prioritize that pretty heavily, though. Could also be the Achilles for Benji or Screammmmm. Both have played it. I think that you could see eUnited going either way, but I'm not sure that Black Dragons gets the same value out of either of those picks as eUnited does. It's not just 1 for 1, great god for great god. So banning the Achilles, making sure that that isn't going to go in the hands of Benji or Screammmmm, I think this is still okay, but man, giving Ullr to Venenu most likely in that mid lane is a scary proposition.
Yeah, I think you are correct, because as soon as the Achilles ban came out, we happened to have the shot on Venenu, and we saw him crack that smile like, oh, yeah, give me the Ullr then. Let's go. So that's going to be the selection here for eUnited, or at least it certainly feels that way, as Serket and Chulainn are going to be the first 2 picks for Black Dragons.
I like Serket pairing with Chulainn as well, because just like Aquarius, Benji is a big Hercules player, and Hercules is, I'm sure, tempting to play as a pressure warrior, but Serket makes that a little bit less viable. Shutdowns that mitigate wounds heal very nicely with the last breath. So now Benji is going to potentially have to go a different direction. But just based on Cardiac's pre-game comments, I have to imagine that Benji is not going to be taking a Sobek or a Guardian into the solo lane this time around, though eUnited seems to be A-okay with the double Hunter. So it could be a Fafnir here to try and buff both those up with the Coerce.
To augment that attack speed for these 2 Hunters certainly could be strong, but looks like we likely have our mid and Hunter lanes, and then the Athena's coming out. This is one of those other things that gets banned when you're forced to ban the Raven or the Nemesis. We see Athenas get taken off the board a lot of the times too, but now that global pressure going to be going the way of very likely PolarBearMike for eUnited.
Now keep in mind though, Benji did play this Athena earlier on this week, so even though I just got done saying I don't think he'll be taking a Guardian, Athena is a little bit of a different style, can clear the wave very well. It's just not particularly safe. You have to group the minions around the archers, use the shield wall, hit the enemy god to make sure that the minions stay on you, and then it'll full clear very early on. So Athena is not a horrible decision here if it does decide to go solo. Still has to be worried about getting pressured out, but has some much better fight potential in those earlier team fights in the jungle.
And that's a pick, I think, that's really good at punishing if someone tries to come over to the jungle. We've seen, where junglers try to make the escape or try to retreat away from stealing buffs or camps, and Athena taunt catches up to you, or Defender of Olympus on top of your jungler. It really can help to punish those rotations. So it certainly has a lot of viability, I think, over in that solo lane or in the Guardian role. Very much a flex pick for eUnited, as Raw going to be the selection for Black Dragons to give them a bit of sustain.
Little bit scary because Ullr is just kind of licking his chops right now for a tasty chicken dinner, because Ra can be jumped on very easily in the mid lane. If you hit by that axe, Ullr could all-in you very well, but Serket can close the gap so easily to make sure that you're at least trading 1-for-1 or maybe try and turn that engagement around. But outside of that Ullr matchup, I think Ra's a great pick here. We just saw what Bastet was able to do with it. Wolfie's been killing it on the Ra for a long time now, but also this week. I think this has a lot of potential here for Black Dragons, and Nann is the type of guy that can carry a game on a god like Ra. I like it.
Now, we just saw this, like you said, with Baskin, but there's a lot of setup for that Ra, I feel like, in that game. Baskin only sometimes needs that, of course, but in this game, I mean, is there as much setup here right now for this Ra pick, or do you think we're going to be seeing maybe the likes of a Kumbhakarna, someone to try and make it easier for Ra to hit these snipes and the first abilities?
I think eUnited has to ban Kumbhakarna after banning Ares. I think that's a great point, that it's so good for setting up for Ra and against the double ADC. I think that would be a mistake for eUnited to leave it open. But honestly, Serket is excellent setup for Ra as well. Just a Cobra's Kiss and Last Breath, or even just a Last Breath, is good enough to set up for any competent Ra player, and certainly one of Nann's potential. The Geb ban, I understand it's tempting. Geb is really, really good. I think Kumbhakarna is just outright better against eUnited's composition. I'd love to see PIBE play it here for Black Dragons.
We know that he can play at a high level. I mean, you just talked about how good Nann has been looking. Hasn't he, though, this tournament so far? It's going to be the Sylvanus pickup instead. Okay, so they're going to be relying on the Wrath of Terra, potentially the Roots, to try and get them through this game. But Ryan, I mean, I can see you visibly disappointed here, wanting them to have gone with that Kumbha.
eUnited now just says, thank you very much, Odin. Please and thank you. I hope, at least. We saw an even more obvious Odin pick earlier against Space Station that Nocturnes didn't capitalize on. I just think that doubling down on healing makes it that much easier to itemize into anti-heal, into cursed onks, into picking gods like Odin or Osiris that are dedicated to shutting down that healing. Even Sobek now is a little bit more appealing because of that anti-heal innately on Sickening Strike. I just think Kumbhakarna is the perfect pick for Black Dragons. It was right in front of them, and if they've been watching the rest of this week, it should be very obvious that that's the best pick for them. I don't like the Sylvanus pick here at all.
Certainly could get punished as eUnited, spending a little bit of time thinking about where they want to go with their next selection. They do still need a jungler, and then they can go with another solo laner, or if they want to put Athena there, another Guardian to try and work for them there. You've already talked about the Odin, which I agree with, certainly can punish this roster that Black Dragons have already grabbed for themselves. So as the time winds down, we'll see where it is that they want to go. Where do you want to see them go in the jungle route, though?
I think I'm just I'll be honest, I'm a Scream Susano fanboy. I love watching him play Susano. I think he pilots that god incredibly well and is able to hard carry a lot of games. I think it would be a great pick.
I think you're right there, as the Amaterasu pick is what comes through, and then they're going to do the Mercury along with it. Why haven't we seen much Dodgy here?
We really haven't. We haven't seen more Dodgy as of late, but this game is a little bit risky to go Dodgy. She could get jumped on pretty well by Serket, and you're looking for non-CC immune ultimates in response to that powwow. So I don't know that I would have gone Dodgy here, but I agree with you that she is getting undervalued overall.
Now, we're not seeing her as much, but the Amaterasu pick is going to be the one that comes out for eUnited. So going with that team-fighting presence between the Dazzling Offensive and then the two stances that she can switch through, along with the Mercury pick for eUnited, and then Rom is going to round it out for Black Dragons. We've seen Rom be very popular here lately, especially with that big ultimate to get him out of danger.
Yeah, it really is, and I'm surprised by the Mercury pick because it is not a god that applies Brawler's Beatstick well at all. You cannot build Brawler's Beatstick on Mercury because you're only applying it on your 3 and your ult. You can't just build it. So this is kind of promising for Black Dragons to have gotten this much, sustain, and then no real easy way to anti-heal them.
And if you're Black Dragons, where is it that you thrive? Isn't it kind of in those late-game fights, right? So you want sustain to get that done. The casters are ready, so I'm going to ask you here, do you got, just based on these drafts, you didn't get the Odin you wanted?
I do not like eUnited's draft, but I still think they're the better team. But I will say I think Black Dragons got away with the better draft.
So we'll say at least maybe picks and bans going the way of Black Dragons, but casters are standing by, so we'll get it over to them.
Yeah, thanks so much, Finch and Agro. Totally joining me here for today's game. I'm excited about this one. It is definitely a healing comp versus mobility.
Yes.
I think is the real key there from what eUnited have drafted.
No Giannis, but Amaterasu will definitely fill that hole of mobility, and I'm really excited for the late game potential out of eUnited specifically with this Mercury here. What's the build path that Scream is going to go for? Is it going to be that Hasten Katana? More than likely trying to chase down those targets at the end.
Other question though, Amaterasu and Athena is interchangeable between the support and the solo lane. Do we expect to see it's Amaterasu in the solo? Low pressure.
Against a Chulainn, you're going to get bullied early on, so you might as well go the Athena here, trying to, lick those wounds in the early game, use that Defender of Olympus to turn the tide on the left side, whereas Amaterasu support, once you hit level 5, you make those rotations in mid lane. Now you're going to start ganking the Ra here and trying to force out that Searing Pain prematurely, or maybe even the beats.
Yeah, you guys can choose at home who you think will win this one as we get ourselves ready for this game. I do want to say, though, if it's going to be Athena on the solo, that feels really weird to have Benji playing something like Athena. That's not as, devastating on the front line, even though, Athena is with those taunts.
Well, he's been playing more and more Sobek, right? So it's just another type of Guardian that can get in the thick of things, and you can have multiple people under the taunt, whereas Sobek can only pluck that one individual member. So I still like it here. It just depends on the execution, because I think that eUnited's comp is definitely more execution heavy. They need to rely on those taunts, need to rely on Venenu's Ullr, probably Venenu, Ullr middle, have PandaCat go Jing there. And yeah, that's going to be more mechanically demanding here between those two gods, specifically Mercury and Ullr. If they get off to an early start or just neutral start, I think that they'll eventually kind of shift towards the end game dominance. But more well-rounded was the draft from Black Dragons here. They have the sustain here between the Raw Sylvanus and even the anti-healing from the Circuit. A lot of gank potential between those two. A lot of setup for their Raw in mid.
Well, one thing as well to mention here is winner of this one goes on to face Space Station Gaming. It is a best of 3 after all. The loser, unfortunately, will go home here. It's double elimination, and this is their second elimination for either of these two teams that don't end up winning this one. Space Station Gaming is their opposition. We could see an all NA, or we could see Brazil versus NA yet again. Very
possible here. eUnited was this close to winning against Rival yesterday, but honestly, I got to look back to that third game. I think it was Callus playing the Kumakarna that really did a number here on eUnited. So I'm surprised about their draft being switched up, because the Jing Wei was so early in the draft. It was immediately after the Ullr. Now, I understand that North Americans prefer the double hunter here, but to draft your second hunter, Jing Wei, more than anything else that early on means that you're trying to hide some things later on. Just goes to show that they're really flexible in that the assassin in the support position, picking the Athena Mercury last.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a very interesting one, this one. And once we get into it, we'll be there momentarily. Don't worry about that. Because the one thing I'm looking at this composition from them is all mobility. It's all about moving around quickly. The Des was talking about the Kumbhakana pick, which it can be very useful against hunters. We saw it used by EU yesterday, something that was almost a pocket pick that I think more and more people will realize. But against Athena in the laning phase, if it is against an Athena, it's not all as easy as that. The Groggy Strike easily cancelable by a taunt, which can put you in a really bad world of hurt.
That's true. It's an interesting matchup in the laning phase, but I think you got to think about it long term outside the laning phase, because it only lasts for as long as the hunters want to make it last with the stacking department here, trying to rush those Devil Gloves or the Transcendence, depending on what god they are.
Well, let's get into game for the second best of 3 of today. We've got one more best of 3 after this one, but first of all, let's see if Black Dragons can show us something that they've been looking to do for a while. They've got 22% of the fans at home backing them here, hoping they can take down the defending world champions.
That's true here. 22% of you guys at home. Now, they couldn't beat Space Station on day number 1, the other North American team here, but they did beat WeGarn Servo yesterday, pretty handily too, I would say.
Sure. But eUnited, on the other hand, though, I mean, they kind of struggled a little bit against Nocturnes on that very first day. And eUnited caught a little bit sleeping there by the Latin American squad. Black Dragons are Nocturne Gaming Scrim partners. They scrim quite often from what I've been hearing. So we'll see how that works out. Nocturne's the owner of Nocturne's Gaming, we've been talking to today, he was saying, like, he feels Black Dragons are a little bit stronger than them. So we'll see what they can do here. They've got a bit more experience. MarcelZ, PIBE being in this lane and been around for a while, but Sprint is popped. Hello, here we go.
Very, very early as PBM leading the charge here, applying That passive was the goal here, but hitting PIBE procs that passive Sylvanus route, so keeping him in check. But it also forced out the defensive sprint from Black Dragon.
I was going to say, was that the real game plan from eUnited here, to try and force out that sprint early for maybe a quicker Mercury gang?
Yeah, but there's no blink here from Scream, so normally if you're going to look for that kind of idea, you're looking to do speed into red, into blinking in the dual lane, but by not having the blink, it leads me to believe that Scream is going to be more focused in the solo lane. When you have a Guardian here for Benji, you need to make sure his blue buff will not be denied.
Well, purple is denied by Black Dragon, stolen away there as PolarBearMike and PandaCat went towards the red buff to pick that up. Scream, meanwhile, is going to make sure Benji gets his blue buff, and as we said, we weren't sure where Benji was going to go or what he's going to be playing. It will be the Athena.
And it's just, it makes sense. You got to play safe against Chulainn here. There's not too many warriors that can really stack up to him, so you play a Guardian to play it safe anyway. You transition to the level 5 point to make that global pressure start swaying some of these 2v2 skirmishes in that dual lane, and very important for Scream to allow Benji his own blue buff, that experience, the gold, making sure that he's not going to fall behind Kliz and still have a relevant fight.
More importantly too, he's just keeping an eye on when that ultimate is on cooldown for Athena. As you were saying, it will always make a situation that looks even ahead for eUnited if it's up. Has to teleport as well here, Benji. So he can immediately ult to a lane and then teleport back if required to. Or other way around, teleport to the fight and then ult to a different part of the fight later on. Still weird to see him playing the Athena though, I'm going to say that. Like, I know Sobek has been one of his bread and butters too, but I really feel Benji just shows his prime on the Warriors.
I mean, his god pool is just so vast. Think about back in Season 2 when he was with the enemy roster. He played the Guan Yu, he played the Hades as well.
It's a collapse from either side, but I think eUnited knew exactly where Gon was coming from. Great blink, but a turnaround play, looking to burst him down. Blink used, but the beads from Venenu is what actually came out of that, so it's not a bad situation for Black Dragons. Blink for beads is a good trade.
Absolutely here, but taking a little bit of poke was zGonnZ here, and only a level 3 Raw is not going to sustain you that highly to be still in a good spot. But with speed buff coming right around the corner here, that Assassin's Blessing will top him off to get ready for the back harpies into the right and the left mids respawning.
Yeah, nice little attempt at the pull from PIBE, just off the mark, however. Would have found PandaCat, could have spelled a bit of trouble there. May have got the beads. Talking about trouble, Kliz. Oh, the Chulainn being forced out by Benji here, and a full minion wave on top.
And the thing is, Benji, by getting his blue buff a lot earlier here than Kliz, he actually got more experience because he shared that blue buff experience, so he got level 4 first, and he understands the ins and outs of the mechanics of the solo lane very highly, so he knows how to effectively clear against this Chulainn. Even with his minion wave being stunned out by that first ability from Chulainn, he can certainly outclear him just by simply dropping that shield wall once he groups up the melee minions all the way to the archers like he's doing now.
Well, Kliz did base and used his teleport to get back to this lane, so he didn't lose any experience, but as you can see, he's just a little bit behind right now. Although he has got his full boots online at this stage, Tolly, which is a good sign for him. Meanwhile, Benji started off looking towards the breastplate of Valor, one of the standard items you kind of see on the Guardians.
And that's why Guardians are able to survive that early laning phase. That extra 20 physical protections from that easy item here. You have enough gold even to get that consumable, the health chalice specifically. So for 500 gold, this is the best start for a Guardian that you can do. You mitigate the damage of your solo lane warrior, your jungler, assassin physical, and the minion waves on top of it.
Well, it could be in a bit of a tricky situation in the mid lane now. Venenu has completed his transcendence already. It's a huge power spike for an Ullr at the start of the game after rushing in the beginning. This is a nice little swing where Nann's going to be careful here because he's only got boots 2 online so far. And at the moment, Black Dragons are just holding up, looking for a gank on Benji.
Trying to make it happen here, but not committing here with the last breath.
You know what happened? The knockup was cancelled because the kiss made the knockup be avoided, but MarcelZ going to be able to avoid PandaCat's couple of auto attacks, more so because of PIBE blocking those shots and healing him back up again. But the first attempt had a Scream to gank the duel lane.
Well, at least zGonnZ still has his ultimate to make a play happen in mid lane if he really wants to. Onto Venenu, catching him off guard.
No beats for Venenu when he ults in place, looking to try and at least trade out. The ult was off the mark from Nann, but Gon will get that last hit. Good play from Black Dragons. They're on the board.
I was waiting for Scream to make that counter gank happen here. He was charging his ultimate under that tier 2 mid tower, but as soon as he was in the line of sight, immediately going to the right side mid harpies was zGonnZ. He barely avoids that counter engage.
Venenu's just playing too far up there, in my opinion. I mean, he knew Scream was on the left-hand side ganking the dual lane, and he pushes up in mid, is over-aggressive there.
bit too much confidence.
Respect the beads timer. If your beads are not available, then you can easily die to that last breath every single time. And when you're just finishing off a power spike item like Venenu did with Transcendence, you're feeling pretty confident here.
Sure.
You got a lot of damage under your belt. You got that 10% cooldown reduction. It's your time to really shine, but not really respecting that gank potential definitely hurts him now, trying to make that comeback. Level 7 on Nann.
Well, credit to Black Dragons for abusing the situation there. Just give him a quick, no, don't be too silly here. Just keep yourself in check, otherwise we will look for more. Scream looking to potentially pressure this mid lane here around the right-hand side of the map. But Gon is well aware of it alongside Nann, so they're going to sit happily under the tower. Blue buff is about to spawn on the right-hand side. Only real jungle camp available right now as the mid wave does start to meet.
I think that Black Dragon saw eUnited walk over that war on the bottom right mid Harpy camp, so going to avoid a little bit of trouble with that one. Great patience from Black Dragons, really showing improvements here in day number 3 after their games against Space Station and Weegarn Servo.
2 ganks on the right side, I think, of Scream and Gon are here too. Kliz taking a lot of poke, but knocks up Benji early on. Benji just going to ult away here, but Scream comes in with a double dunk. Double dunk after Mark as Gon goes in and gets the kiss, and the ultimate off too. Scream going to run for his life, but they've not got the damage. The snipe over the wall from Nann. Just a hair off the mark, and Venenu couldn't get involved.
Needed that one basic attack to proc the Catalyst, and that would have definitely spelled the doom from Scream ultimately. I thought it was going to be troublesome originally, considering that the ultimate from Athena with the ultimate from Mercury was used offensive. At first I thought it was defensive, like get out of there. Get out of there. Scream's like, no, we're going back in. We're trying to get the double damage ultimate. But then the Cobra's kiss didn't hit both of them. If it did, I think that would have went differently.
Well, a good start for Black Dragon still, because I like to see the aggression out of them here. They've got a lead and they're going with it. The one thing I've found with some of these teams from Brazil, from Latam, from Oceania, is that they are the best in their region. So they come into this with, you know, they always are the ones ahead in games. So why not play to your strengths of being aggressive? Stay as aggressive as you would be in your own region. Even though it's an A and EU and you see those names that, you know, we've seen at the World Champions before, don't look at it like that. Look at it like any other game you normally do.
Look for the holes and exploit them. And I think that it's not that they're intimidated by their opposition. I just think that they're getting out aggressed.
They're respecting them too much. That's
it is a little bit of respect here. I will grant you that. But I think it's that eUnited and the other teams in general from North America and Europe are throwing the international teams a lot of a curveball. It's like all of a sudden they're 3-man invading our blue at 2.5 minute mark. This is a little unconventional here. Normally we just 2-man invade their blue when we have an advantage and have the laning phase, but this is a whole new ballpark that the international teams are trying to step in. And so far, you know, they haven't been successful, but they need to find their stride here if they want to continue in day 4.
Well, nothing really changed so far in this game. Black Dragons just in 1 kill separating these two teams at the moment. The longer the game goes, though, eUnited do ramp heavily with those double hunters and, of course, the Mercury. They will take objectives very quickly, Tolly. Not just gold, not just fire. I'm talking structures as well.
Oh, absolutely here. So that's the one strength that eUnited definitely have, is their ability to get the objectives. But then you also have to look at their weaknesses. You look at the composition. I see 4 physical across the board. Hold that
2 ganks at the same time. Benji's under pressure on the right, but on the left-hand side, Scream's looking for a gank too. Benji's going to fall down before he can get away, and Scream is now in the lane, looking to maybe ult down towards the Rama. Changes his mind, though, but a great pick again from Black Dragons. They're pressuring the solo.
That's what you got to do against Guardians in general here. Before they start dominating those mid to late game team fights, that's where Guardians really shine here. And Scream, he paid a little bit of attention in the solo lane here by getting the blue buff early for Benji, by looking for the counter gank, but this time around, third time was the charm here for Black Dragons, ultimately punishing out Benji, trying to make sure that Kliz gets some footing underneath himself.
It's very similar, tale of the tape of what happened against Latin America for eUnited here, where they just didn't seem to get things rolling straight away. But Black Dragons have come out the gate well, and Gon and Kliz looking at Benji again. Third time could be a charm. He will be able to dash away, but Benji's still going in. Rotation is on the way.
P-base here, but so are additional eUnited members. Even PBM going to force something here with his ultimate.
Looking towards PIBE, who avoids it with his ultimate of his own. Takes a bit of damage and a sonic boom too. The focus is on the tree, and the tree will fall.
control. Now to the rotation, the snipe hits 2. Not enough to pick up a kill though, but it will force eUnited back momentarily.
Just trying to get the damage off here and really abusing that cooldown. Kliz is going to get stunned out in a full combo. And not having the physical defense quite yet in his build allows Venenu to get off that damage. That's the one issue that Soul Laners really have against Guardians. You're forced into magical defense, so you're going to get really punished here by some of the other physical carries. Now, normally it's not going to be the middle lane that you're worried about, but because it's North America that likes the double hunters, Venenu really exploiting that fact.
I love the call from Black Dragons to go aggressive again onto Benji as we watch a 1v1 trade that MarcelZ is not enjoying right now. Airstrike to Doom. He was just trying to juke out the auto attacks and couldn't get away. PandaCat on the money with every shot.
PandaCat was actually 2 levels behind MarcelZ, just now hitting level 10, and still went aggressive there. I do see the red buff on PandaCat. I'm not sure if MarcelZ had the red buff there, but when you have Demo Gloves there and you're behind your own minion wave, you gotta be looking for the boxing trades here. Now, the only advantage that Jing has is that you can't really body block her shots. She can make her basic attacks splash against the melee minions, so you have to be looking for the trade, get the lifesteal off. Don't allow PandaCat's aggression go unpunished.
So those 2 kills now for eUnited back-to-back have kind of evened things up in terms of the kill count. Golden experience relatively even between the 2 as well, so still a tied game at 11 minutes in. This isn't got out of control just yet. Black Dragons are keeping pace, but PIBE is in a very awkward spot.
Oh no, caught in between a rock and a hard place. Forced to use that ultimate defensively, but the timing from PBM stuns out the tree. Make that 5 collapsing eUnited members because they're looking for this next secondary objective.
Well, especially with Nann just using the ultimate there to try and distract the attention. MarcelZ in the sky looking for it.
Close.
Won't be able to pick up the kill. He was on the money, but just not the right timing. Gold Fury for eUnited, but a great response from Black Dragons. They can't get there, so they're going to do the Pyro.
They're going to get a little bit of something in return here, stretching, getting about 700 gold back in their pocket, keeping the game still close, and that's very important factor at the 12-minute mark, because I think the late game, yes, the damage from eUnited is respectable from Screammmmm and PandaCat, but on the flip side, I think the longer these team fights last, Black Dragons with a sustain should eventually just out-sustain and outlast eUnited in the long run.
Seems like PolarBearMike is starting to pay a bit more attention to the solo lane now. A couple of rotations over here. Probably at the same time because Screammmmm is looking towards the left-hand side to give a little bit more pressure for PandaCat at the moment. eUnited up that 1 kill. Great pull through the wall onto Mike, though. No follow-up available. Nann not really having the mana to follow this one up. Wants to save that mana for the next couple of waves coming through to the tower.
He missed a route, too, there, because I think that PBM had to go behind PIBE and around, so PIBE didn't expect that one whatsoever here.
Gon hasn't looked behind him, and now he's going to get taunted by Benji. No beads available just yet. It's not level 12 for Gon, but will Deathbane away to safety at half health, however, and now eUnited starting to siege up a little bit more now, starting to play up on this map a little bit more.
And eUnited are getting a little too much respect here out of Black Dragons. Kliz trying to bully out Benji, but on the left-hand side, MarcelZ wants nothing to do with PandaCat. You have a whole wave. Fight into him. Use those archers to your advantage. Now he's going
to try and turn this, though, because PandaCat has used everything. Still can't run a couple of basics. Now around the back comes PolarBearMike with Benji in tow. Athena in to the action, and MarcelZ on land is in trouble. Has beads available and rollout. Reinforcements on the way. Didn't need anything as he gets away because of the knockoff.
Oh, zGonnZ is here as well. Onto Benji here. The last breath will end his life with a salmon leap.
But Screammmmm is here, and they've got to back off soon because Kliz is under pressure. Being pushed by 2 hunters. PandaCat will get 1. PolarBearMike goes down in trade. MarcelZ is still alive, but not much longer as the sonic boom removes him.
Oh, no bees here coming out of GonnZ here, 1 by 1. Now it's PIBE here with a Wrath of Terror, taking out 1 hunter, but PandaCat still returning fire while Screammmmm takes out the tower.
Oh, the snipe just juked out by PandaCat there. A 2v2 on this left-hand side. Everybody else on the map is dead. This is a sort of brawl, I think, can play into Black Dragon's favor here. These sort of brawls could really help them out.
A little bit of overstretching tower diving opportunities from eUnited.
From eUnited, yeah.
Yeah, taking a little bit more damage than they wanted to. I think PBM's health pool was eliminated by 75% of the tower, if not more there. So needing to clean that up a little bit. Like, I understand that you're forcing out some relics, you're forcing out some ultimates, but if you're going to trade 3 for 3 even Stevens here, it could allow Black Dragons to get to that late game with eUnited.
Sure. Notice as well, MarcelZ did not use his beads in that whole engagement, which is a big win for them in all fairness. Yeah, he fell down, but they got a couple of kills in trade, so it's not feeling good. 3 for 3. But him keeping the beads means that he can't be ganked as easy again. They could probably expect them to be down now.
So I was saying how MarcelZ was giving PandaCat too much respect and not trying to box him. Even though he had a whole wave, he wanted to go back all the way under the safety of his own tier 1 tower. And I think the main reason why is because he's afraid of the global pressure from eUnited here.
I was
got
going
a
to mention Mercury was the real reason.
Mercury can easily hide behind that tier 1 tower in the dual lane and look for that. So whenever somebody walks at you, when you have your whole wave and they don't, you're like, something's up. I'm about to get ganked.
This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right? So you got to look at it and be like, all right, PandaCat's definitely up to something. And he certainly was on the backhand side. PBM was trying to make the rotation here with the ultimate from Benji. And it took a while. They finally got the kills, but at least Black Dragons rotated in kind and made it a 3 for 3 at the end of the day.
Definitely so much easier to see this game from the overhead view. Scream goes in, as does zGonnZ. zGonnZ gets out after using the ultimate. Nann getting very low, has to Aegis defensively. Airstrike and Sonic Boom used. Scream picks up zGonnZ, and Nann's still alive in the middle of the tower, but he's got no more support.
Oh, that's going to be a nice tower dive this time around here.
Good
the
pull.
Back onto PandaCat. He's going to get knocked up by his own persistent guts. PBM needs to run away because Kliz going to knock him out for the moment. PIBE finally responding. It's going to be a 2 for 1 eUnited's favor.
Oh, they might be able to get Venenu here as well. MarcelZ with the last hit, but shout outs to PIBE, man. PIBE's having a game.
Oh,
He's having a real good game so far.
The pulls have been fantastic here. Wrath of Terror very patiently held onto to make sure that the defensive re-engage will at least get these 3 for 3s into 2 for 2s every now and then. Black Dragons still at a good pace here. They're only down 2,000 gold at the 16.5 minute mark, which is completely negligible. I think that Black Dragons have a strong fighting chance in the first game, very similar to how Nocturnes was in day 1.
Totally, Black Dragons were talking about this as well. Like, the one thing they were doing is, if they were going to be late to an engagement, they were still trying to rotate to it instead of trying to find something else to do. This game, they seem to be adapting to that a little bit better. If they're not going to make it there, they're going to find other wins potentially, or still be able to turn it around at the end of the day. This is favoring Black Dragons for me. Granted, eUnited in the lead, but mistakes from eUnited, one team fight that doesn't go so well, Black Dragons can easily take over the lead.
They're showing their faces and how they've prepared for it. The early game laning phase, they've survived that. That's a check mark. Mid game so far, they're not allowing eUnited to go unpunished so far. It's a check mark in my book. Now, the third remaining question is, how will they handle the late game fights? Because there's going to be a lot of engagements and re-engagements because of the mobility from eUnited. PBM playing the Amaterasu. You don't max out your aura right off the bat, but now that she's level 12, certainly has the mobility to do so, allowing Mercury on Scream even more mobility here that already has the Hasten Katana and that Stone Cutting Sword.
I was going to mention some anti-heal, but we do have a little bit from Cursed Arc here on PolarBearMike as eUnited get the Gold Fury. Black Dragon's not really in a position to stop that there. Mike just doing a good work on zone there.
I'm not worried about that whatsoever here from Black Dragons. Even though they lost their second Gold Fury of the game, they're only down about 2,600 gold. And considering it's nearing that 18-minute mark, that what can eUnited realistically do with this lead? Split 5 ways, you're looking at 500 gold or so on average per player. You're looking at a couple of Sentry Wards or maybe a Tier 1 item.
Quick pause here coming out between the two teams, and we'll get back to it momentarily. One difference between the last Gold Fury going down totally is that Black Dragons were already doing the Pyromancer. Yep. This time around, though, not going to be as easy for them to go there. Black eUnited going to know that's going to happen if Black Dragons want to go there. So we may see a fight after this around the Pyro, or this lead just stays where it is for now.
It's a 5-on-5. Both teams are very healthy for this next objective that could be looked at. It's basically a game of chicken of which team wants to force something first. eUnited took the first bait, and Black Dragons were not prepared. They don't have the vision necessary on that left side of the map and walked away cleanly there. Very afraid, I think, of taking some jungle fights with that Mercury. Global Ultimate Scream has been all over the place, I would say, trying to make plays happen, as you really should as a Mercury. That hyper carry potential is definitely online from him with that Stone Cutting Sword, with the Hasten Katana. He was able to clean up zGonnZ in that middle fight there. And if that Mercury Ultimate didn't stop right at that wall between Tier 1 and Tier 2, I think zGonnZ was gone.
Well, I think the one thing to mention here as well is that Black Dragons are at least answering back what eUnited are throwing at them. They're punishing eUnited for their overstaying, for their aggression, making sure they answer those kills, because a lot of times this happens. teams get out with like 2 health and survive. Black Dragons are not allowing that. They are punishing it at least to make it most of the time an even engagement.
And that's a little difficult to do considering they are not the ones with the global pressure or the mobility with Amaterasu. So their communication has definitely been on point to understand where the threats are coming from and responding with these important rotations. So Black Dragons are punishing eUnited, but I think eUnited is also punishing themselves by just overstaying in some of these little team fights.
We get to a little look back at the start of this game and how it all began. Venenu was so far forward without beads here. And this was just good recognition from Nann and zGonnZ to be able to pick up this kill for free. Great start, and that's what you want on a circuit.
I like the backpedal from zGonnZ as well, really respecting that Ullr was going to do some more damage with that jump, avoiding some basic attacks, so that at least it was the Ullr that was first blooded and that he would survive. And immediately afterwards, like about 15 seconds later, I think Scream was walking up the mid lane looking for that re-engagement, but zGonnZ was already at that right side mid Harpy. Black Dragons really respecting the potential gank from Scream.
As we look at the plays on the screen there from eUnited, I love the position of keyboards because everyone has their own wave. You notice like Verizial's or Scream's is further back and at a diagonal, and Mike's is the exact opposite direction in terms of position. No lefties on that team, I don't think, this time round. Or is there? I don't think there is.
Nah, I think the only lefty really in all of Smite is Jing.
I think it's one or two more than that.
There might be, but like from what I've seen, because when you're a lefty, normally you're not really playing with the left side or the right side of your keyboard, right? So you kind of move it all the way, and I think that's what Jing really does, just moving it all the way on one side of the keyboard. Doesn't really seem that Black Dragons are on the same page here as eUnited. Standard stuff.
Well, the admins are about to get them back into game momentarily. This is a very good one between the two so far. That first kill, as you mentioned, going the way of zGonnZ on the circuit. And since then, it's been a back and forth encounter. Into game we go, unless the Ellis continues, because Pyromancer is now available. We just saw the Gold Fury go to eUnited as a bit of a recap, and that stretched their lead to 3,000.
Black Dragons are taking the safest possible route. They're going behind their 2-1 tower all the way to their back camps, allowing eUnited this objective. Like I said before, I didn't mind the Gold Fury letting that one go. You're letting the Pyromancer go like, okay, all right, still stretching it a little bit here to about a 4,000, almost 4,500 gold lead. So it's still fightable for Black Dragons.
Can we see wards placed this game? Because I do look at the map now, and I'm starting to feel that it's kind of lackluster from Black Dragons a little bit on this right-hand side. Left-hand side is littered with wards, but they still gave up that Gold Fury. And right-hand side, just that one, really, from Black Dragons around the Fire Giant to make sure there's no shenanigans from the double hunters, which is definitely an opportunity for them.
They're just confident about going into the late game. I was talking about the magical damage versus physical until there was a crazy gank on the right side of the map, but going back into that discussion, it's only Benji playing the Athena that has magical damage, so going for Shoes of Magi, trying to get some penetration online. If you can land both of those hits from the shield wall, it's a lot of burst damage all in one. So the only magical defense that I'm seeing realistically here, oh, Scream, gonna miss a little bit here, but I like the attempt, is the Runic Shield. Kliz trying to mitigate some of that magical power.
I don't like that attempt at all.
Nah.
He's on his own. I mean, if anything, he just knows where they are. He doesn't have to go aggressive there. I think that was like trying to make a highlight reel play, and best case scenario, you get a kill and you get a highlight reel play. Worst case, you drop a free kill in an awkward position there when it make a 4v5.
I think he just wanted to force some beads there more than anything else. I love what Benji is doing with Scream.
Push time.
Burst damage on burst damage here. The shots are just too high here. Scream going to get that one down here. And Black Dragons, they're not even in position to get a tier 2. They're barely going to get this tier 1.
Yeah, trying to answer back. And in goes zGonnZ, looking to get the beads out of Venenu, and does so. Venenu pulls back to the safety of his tier 2 towers. Now Benji turns up 2. Kliz on zone work is doing good things, but look at the left-hand side, Toli.
That's right. It's going to be Scream still pushing, but the double back here from both Nann and zGonnZ is going to deter that. Now, it could easily be a collapse here in the mid lane. Tier 1 tower was secured by BD, but now it's a 5-on-4 in mid for eUnited.
Scream round the back and a blinking and get the beads out of MarcelZ, who has to roll away. Tier 1 tower falls down, and nobody from Black Dragons can really do anything about that. This is what eUnited are now doing. They've changed the combination of how this game's been going. It's been team fight, team fight, team fight, over-aggress a little bit too much, and now it's like, okay, now we'll split the map up and use our mobility to the advantage.
These are the little things that I think some of the international teams are not expecting. Some of these sneaky tactics being used because of how much shenanigans North Americans and Europeans have been exposed to. They're used to seeing this kind of, not split push, but like the strategy of like, all right, my Guardian / Soul Laner is going to take the tower, while all of a sudden, wait, there's a Mercury there as well. Not having the vision all the way up there by the purple buff doesn't surprise me out of Black Black Dragons, but they needed something more than just a tier 1 tower if they were going to give up the tier 2 on the left.
Completely agree. It's about in-game adaptation as the game is actually being played. I mean, like we said, it was all team fights, and now it's all split push and rip Black Dragons to try and work out which direction they want to go.
Because there's certain sacrifices that you just can't control. Like that tier 2 tower, there was no way they were going to stop it in time. So they needed to think of a bigger prize pool. They needed to go.
Really fire though.
Yeah, they could have definitely tried to go for Fire Giant in a 5-on-3. They would have to worry about the Athena ultimate. Yeah. So it would have been a 5-on-4. Even with Scream having that ultimate, there's too many walls in between to get to Fire Giant quickly enough.
Well, this game doesn't look as clean on paper as it does right now. It's 6,000 gold in the lead for eUnited. They're going to burst the fire so quick. Kliz goes in with the ultimate trying to turn this around. Will use his thorns, but even through the thorns, the 3 physicals just destroy him. PIBE's in an awkward spot, gets an ultimate off onto 2 or 3, but he's left alone in the jungle, and he will surely fall. 2 kills for Scream, and a tier 2 tower looms.
I think that Black Dragons are in their own head now. I thought for whatever reason that the Gold Fury letting that one go was tactically on purpose here, but as they let go, the Gold Fury, the Pyromancer, and now the Fire Giant, I think they're just caught slipping here, and eUnited are not letting go of the pressure, diving beyond that Phoenix, zoning Black Dragon away to secure this first solo Phoenix at 22 minutes in. Black Dragons are not prepared for defending these objectives.
It's going to be a difficult situation now. They may be able to defend the middle Phoenix after this, as PIBE will be up and Kliz, but no ultimates for them. And that might be a sign for eUnited to want to go again, using Benji and those taunts.
Gonna taunt out zGonnZ here, forcing him out there. The snipe connects onto 2 here. Venenu needs to watch out. He will sustain from that Fire Giant ever so slightly. Benji still taking it out while PandaCat getting the damage off.
Good play from zGonnZ to go in again and force back PandaCat once more. Beads and Aegis used there by PandaCat. Venenu dived in, or not by choice. Not by choice, and now he's going to get sniped out. 2 in a row, the 3rd off the mark. Scream trying to keep zGonnZ busy, and zGonnZ looking to get out of danger.
Stun on Kliz from Venenu from a distance here. Benji going to do some damage reduction.
This could be a good turnaround.
Scream. I think that the mobility is just too much to handle here. Black Dragons are going to go for something here. They're trying to maybe see if they can catch out Venenu, I believe.
I think it's Gold Fury.
They have to go for something here with how low eUnited are, but keep in mind that right side minions will start entering the throne room if left unchecked.
Not gonna lie, Tony, that was a messy Phoenix push. That second one from eUnited wasn't as clean as you would have expected from them. I think they just thought they were going to roll over there and die, but Black Dragons held and now get themselves a Gold Fury. It's a little bit of something in the coffers to get towards those 6 items.
Forcing out the double relics from Venenu off of the beautiful pull there. PIBE pulled Venenu the same time that he got stunned by the ultimate from PBM, and I don't think eUnited were expecting that whatsoever. It kind of like split the uprights and found its home onto Venenu. Forcing out the double defensive relics, eUnited could have potentially kept going there, but wanting to play it super safe. They still have the Fire Giant for another 1.5 minutes, which will buy enough time for these relics to come off cooldown for Venenu, then look for another play.
Tully, items like Witchblade, should they be really picked up around now? I mean, against, this many physicals?
I would say so. I like the Merguardian Mail pickup from Kliz, and that's one way to handle it.
Long range axe came out from Venenu after the taunt, but gone. Will get away just in time. Didn't have his beads available, but go back to the Witchblade,
Yeah, they need more physical defense-heavy items here, trying to punish this double Hunter and Mercury pick composition. You're seeing the Merguardian Mail out of PIBE and Kliz. You're seeing the Void Shield, which I like from zGonnZ, but Masamune is a little questionable here. You could go for more physical defense, shred potential with that stone cutting sword as well.
PandaCat really showing up here so far this game. 3-0 and 6. Taunt onto PIBE, who gets knocked up by PandaCat as well. Auto attack damage is huge, but on the backside, the snipe was massive to force PandaCat back and get Benji's ultimate out of the fight. Scream, meanwhile, though, has cleaned up 2.
He's going for his third. Trying to go for the 3rd here, but it's going to be MarcelZ zoning Scream away, going to find the reset for the moment. But he gets the triple kill. Penta. Trying to go for something here. The left side Phoenix. Kliz going to hold on for a little bit. MarcelZ will heal in the fountain for the moment. Second Phoenix due to fall soon.
Oh, Venenu's going to get soloed by Kliz on the back. The Thorns came into play, and Kliz is just trying to bring them away from his Titan room where possible and keep them busy. And Kliz versus PolarBearMike. Mike wants this kill, but Benji's trying to steal it.
Oh, Benji, why did you got to do it to him like that? You know PBM wanted that one.
Well, he's not going to find it this time. Scream tanking up the Phoenix. Now the minions are here. He'll leave it to them. Middle Phoenix falls. All are now down, and eUnited could look towards the throne room.
It's very possible here. 10 seconds on zGonnZ and Nann. Benji Gonna start it up here. This Titan is already 75% health.
Yeah, rough situation. Oh, the call seems to be back off from eUnited. Bit of respect there. The respawn's gone, and Nann coming through. eUnited realized that that would have been a terrible mistake to make to try and force that one.
Why force it when you have the Fire Giant respawning in 40 seconds? With zGonnZ and Nann coming up here, that's enough damage to really deter eUnited here. They didn't have fire minions trickling in that throne room from all 3 lanes to justify going for the end. And considering it's only game 1 of this best of 3 set, I like that eUnited are taking a step back, reflecting on where they currently are in the meta and or in this game state, the best of 3, and just taking a hard reset, going for the Fire Giant, hitting that last nail in the coffin.
Question totally, do you defend the Fire Giant here? Do you make the all-in plays Black Dragons? I feel like it's always the play to make to try and defend it at this point.
14,000 gold behind. If you die here, you will lose the game. If you give a Fire Giant,
you will lose the game.
You're more likely to defend your own throne room.
It's like a rock and a hard place.
It is. It really is. I think there's like a 5% differential, but I think the more favorable situation is to defend your own throne room, even with Fire Giant on eUnited.
Black Dragons are around here, though, and eUnited are aware of it now. Benji and Scream on the front side as Benji. Sorry, PolarBearMike goes in with the ultimate. Kliz is around the back. Not been noticed yet. Sonic Boom hits on towards MarcelZ. MarcelZ takes to the sky for safety. PIBE gets a 4-man ultimate, which was massive, and forces back.
Oh, Venenu gets sniped out by MarcelZ. Great pickup, but Scream returning the favor upon the landing. Now going in here, Kliz transforming. Scream gonna get stunned out here for the moment, but he's still boxing.
He's trying to box because Scream, he's trying to get away more than likely from Kliz and zGonnZ, and now that he's out of the fight, it's on to Benji. PolarBearMike, though, whacking away with PandaCat, starting to get back involved. But look at Scream! Look at Scream! He's running down the mid lane. He's gonna try and end this on his own.
He's it.
Fire minions are here. zGonnZ's backed up, and the minions are more important.
They're so close there. PIBE is gonna get knocked up between 3 members. He will take a tumble. That Titan took a little bit of poke there. Great rotation from zGonnZ. This is the sneaky tactics that North Americans and Europeans are used to seeing.
Well, this could be the game because the Titan is so low. The snipe from Nann didn't do enough to bring anybody down just yet. Members of eUnited are low, but the fire minions are making a difference too. PandaCat picks up Kliz, and now it's only Nann and gone for another 6 seconds. MarcelZ
with
back
the
up.
ultimate. Here comes PBM trying to stun out, but instead it's all damage onto the Titan. eUnited claim the first game.
They take game 1 totally. Towards the end, it was messy and scrappy. At the start, though, Black Dragons showed up.
Oh, yeah. They just let too many objectives go. I think the Gold Fury letting the second Gold Fury go, A-OK. Second Pyromancer did go to eUnited. First one for Black Dragons. That was okay letting that go. Black Dragons letting go Fire Giant. Unacceptable. You cannot allow that because that's where extra structure damage comes through for the double physical Hunter composition. With Scream playing the Mercury with the Fire Giant buff. They're able to really do whatever they wanted to at that point, and that's where things got too dicey for the Brazilians.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Black Dragons got off to a great start, and just a moment or two where they caught either hesitation or just sleeping a little bit, and that's where eUnited exploited and started to gain momentum in that game. Who do you guys at home think was MVP in that one? I'm looking probably towards PandaCat, I'd say.
It's either between Venenu, PandaCat, or Scream. I got to give it to whoever made the call towards that tier 2 left tower that really, I think, just got in the heads of Black Dragons there. They traded 1-for-1 in the tier 1 mid tower. I think eUnited has too many sneaky tactics that Black Dragons are not prepared for.
Well, let's get over to the desk to break down that first game.
Game 1 going the way of eUnited. Perhaps the result was expected, but judging by eUnited's own reactions, I don't think that went kind of the way that they wanted that one to go, Ryan.
No, PBM looked a little bit displeased with the overall team performance.
Yeah.
And, look, it wasn't like it was a 50-minute game against Nocturnes where they feel like they should have lost that game more than won it. eUnited was in control, but it certainly wasn't easy. That mid-game, the beginning portion of the mid-game, kind of devolved a little bit. Both teams were kind of just doing strange things, diving tier 1 towers to get kills, all that kind of stuff. But I agree with Tolly. That split push on the tier 2 on the left-hand side is what broke the game wide open. And that's classic eUnited. They play the map better than almost any team in the league. They will split push consistently, and it's always at the right times where you can't really punish them for it. They play the map very well, and they put it on display here.
And that's what ends up being the difference oftentimes between these two squads, is it is going to be Scream that is selected as your MVP after game 1, and for good reason. Played the Mercury very well. But that seems to be the big gap, I think, between the international teams and the EUNA teams, is that the little opportunities on the map to go take objectives, take towers, like you said, to recognize when they have enough control of the map to make those pushes, and they take those opportunities, and sometimes you don't see like Brazil and LATAM do that.
In Scream, look, I wasn't in love with his Mercury pick right off the bat. I'm not a huge fan of it in the Sylvanus in general, but I think that it worked out perfectly, and Scream played it so well. Not your typical crit, one-shot everybody sort of build, but more of a disruptor, a facilitator, and
more of a that.
Chase down on the Nann is just insane. Hazen Katana can be very good on Mercury, can also not be very effective. That is the entire argument for building Hazen Katana on Mercury. Right there. That's the clip that
right.
sells you. If there's a Hazen Katana salesman, that is his entire pitch.
Well, I mean, and Raw has all that extra movement speed in his kit too, so that's what you want it for, right? To be able to chase down some of those slippery mid laners. But you're right, you don't always go Hasten Katana. I feel like it's I'm either trying to kill you in like 2 hits, or I need to stick to you for several hits. So that's kind of the 2 different schools of thought there, I feel like, with the Mercury.
And I like his decision to go for the Hazen Katana in this matchup because there was so much sustain for Black Dragons. Even if you get them low with 2 hits, you're not outright killing them. They're 5% HP, then they can reset, heal up very easily. It's better to stick on top of them and burst them down before that healing can come through.
And that's why we saw Scream able to play very well. But really, I feel like everyone played well. I mean, Black Dragons were sticking with them in terms of kills, I would say, throughout the early game. But it's just like, that seems to be the difference, right? Their team fighting is there. Their mechanics, I think, are certainly there. Not just from Black Dragons, but Nocturnes as well. It's how well can they manage the map outside of that. That's what eUnited continue to do just a little bit better.
And PandaCat had a great game. I mean, check out his player damage, doubling that of MarcelZ. Jing Wei for PandaCat, classic pick for him. But that solo kill onto MarcelZ, when MarcelZ is up 2 levels, it seems like, well, how is PandaCat able to do that? It's just because MarcelZ hadn't backed yet. He was still sitting on a ton of gold, had 0 extra additional movement speed, whereas PandaCat, despite being a little bit behind in stacks and behind in XP, had backed and finished off his full boot. So a great recognition by PandaCat that he should be the aggressor in that situation, and that was a big boost for this team to let PandaCat get that solo kill.
And Ryan, I gotta think this is one of those plays that PolarBearMike is like not particularly happy about. This was a really like long fight that wasn't particularly clean. They ended up giving up, I think, 3 kills. The kills are even, but they get the tower. So yeah, that explains, one, how even when the fights are even, that eUnited stays ahead because they get the objective, but also I think some of the frustration from eUnited where it wasn't as clean as I think they would have liked it.
But I mean, that's what you expect from these top-end teams. The ability to win and then be upset with how you played during your win.
That wasn't perfect.
Exactly. You have to be chasing perfection if you want to be a world champion, and this team obviously is, so you know they have that in them. It's just a matter of how well they can bounce back and play after, and with that frustration in mind. And I mean, they were certainly frustrated after Game 1 against Nocturnes on Wednesday, and then came back and had a phenomenal Game 2. It just blew them out of the barn. I think that they have potential to do that here if they stick to their guns, but at the same token, I think Black Dragons, if they make some adjustments, have potential to give eUnited an even harder time in Game 2.
And we saw them do it, like you said, kind of push eUnited to the brink. We heard earlier in the interview, if eUnited are able to find the second win up against Black Dragons, they think that playing this set here actually could be a bit of an asset towards them, getting a chance to see maybe some of the things that aren't as clean as they could be and clean those up moving forward. Of course, they got to win this set before they even get to think about that, but potentially could be something that could work in their favor.
I agree with them. I think that one of the hardest parts about playing on LAN is sitting down for the first time that day or for in the last couple hours in that chair and trying to get comfortable, trying to get your mindset locked in. And it is difficult to play multiple games in a row, long games. Smite is a game that you're going to be playing 35, 45-minute games pretty often, and it's difficult to stay that locked in. It is truly mentally and even physically draining to play long sets at LAN. And it doesn't really make sense until you've actually done it, but you come out of these events exhausted as a player if you can make a deep run. So that is something that eUnited has to be wary of, is how well they're maintaining their mental fortitude, making sure that they're still locked in mentally and that they're not tired or anything like that as they keep on going. But overall, I agree with them. I think I'd rather win a best of 3 and then immediately play my next best of 3 and get right into it because I'm already in that mindset. That's also part of it. It's almost like working out, where if you start and then stop for a little bit and then start again, it's really hard to get the gears going once again. If you're already in gear, it's very easy to just keep on rolling.
That's what eUnited are going to be looking to do if they can claim this set up against right now they're playing against Black Dragon, so we'll see if they're able to to make that happen for themselves. Black Dragons, on the other hand, have got to try and work on cleaning up a little bit of this objective focus from them, because I think that for sure the mechanics, the team fights, all that are there. I mean, we've seen Kliz repeatedly play at a high level for this team on the Chulainn here this game. We've seen Nann play looking like he almost like an SPL caliber mid laner almost. I mean, he's looked excellent this weekend, hasn't he? So
yeah.
They clearly have the ability to translate that into how well can they control the map.
I agree with you, and Kliz has played up this weekend. I mean, he didn't have the best of Smite Global Series results a lot of the time.
Sure.
His team was winning, but he wasn't having those dominating performances that you kind of expect from a guy who's been around the scene for so long. But I thought he had a pretty solid game one. He was able to find that solo kill on the Venenu on that left side Phoenix. We just saw the replay of him getting chased down, but the result of that was that Black Dragons got to hold on for a little bit longer and make it that much harder to end the game for eUnited. So I think it's been a positive event for Kliz and for Nann. MarcelZ has struggled a little bit though, and that's where Black Dragons, I think, need to try and put their focus, is making sure that MarcelZ isn't going to be bullied consistently by PandaCat.
And to get on my soapbox here for a little bit, this is why I don't think that box scores or KDAs are all that important. If one of the reasons why you're losing the game is because your team wins, like gets a kill, and then you hesitate for 2 seconds to go for a Gold Fury, that doesn't mean your team is bad. That means that you just need a little bit more in terms of confidence or shot calling or experience to clean those up. That's why we've been talking about these international teams at such a high level here this weekend, is because they're right there. They really are, and it's these tiny margins that exist between them and some of the other teams that we're seeing here, and that they just need a little bit more to get to that point. So sure, you might see some of these teams are 0-2, but it's way closer than that.
And we see the skill on display there for MarcelZ.
Yeah.
That last clip, that's the perfect example of what this guy can do and has done to a lot of SPL hunters in the past. That's a great fight from him. Without any relics, he's still far enough back that he's only one person can go on him. It's Scream, and he still is able to get up into the ultimate and make sure that he's at least trading his life out 1-for-1, worst case scenario. But the laning phase for him has been a serious struggle. It was a struggle against Space Station Gaming. Barracuda bullied him consistently. PandaCat was able to do that in game one. He's got to find a way to survive the laning phase a little bit better, because once he gets to his late team fight, he's great. You just can't be giving the enemy hunter kills to get them back into the game like he did with PandaCat.